Baldwin, I will not be in your classroom, but you will bring your kids into the foraging room, so that'll be good. Right? English department, I want to thank you very much in advance for letting us come into your classrooms. We also get to come into a meeting so you can really drill us with all kinds of riveting questions for us. So, how many of you have never done registration? Here. Let's be honest. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who has done this 30 times? Yeah, right? Okay. So, we had a little bit of feedback last year, and we were told that last year was a good year for registration. Based on that information, we're going to just not reinvent the wheel, but we're going to continue the wheel going in that direction. So, this is going to be not necessarily fast and furious, but I hope it's going to be riveting for you. I gave you some documents in front of you to look at. I'm getting to renew my national board, so you are being videotaped. Not really, it's me being videotaped this morning, but the purpose is for me to do my renewal. So, say what you want. The key word when you renew is sufficient. When you do it the first time, it's concise and like all these things. It's just sufficient now, so we're going to do great on this one, right? Okay, thank you to Jesse for videotaping me. I appreciate that. Okay, here's the trick. How many of you know that we have 2 different graduation requirements for different classes? Raise your hand if you know that. Raise your hand if you know what next year's seniors, what's the number they have to have? 22. Taylor Swift. 22. Right? You're going to hate me for remembering that. Now, what's the other number that everybody else in our class has to have? Which we all wish we were. Again, 24. Some of us in this room might be 24. Okay, so that's what we're going off of. If you have a goldenrod sheet, put it up in the air. Goldenrod. What's the number on top of that? This is an enthusiastic group. If you have a white sheet with a cardinal on the top right, what's that number? 24. Whoa! Look at that. We're having so much fun. There are 2 different forms you're going to be using. Who's our senior cardinal or current junior cardinal connection people? What number will you be working with? Too many. A plus. Sitting in the front. You guys are doing great so far. Okay, so that's really my whole presentation right there. So, just be aware that there are more boxes. We've changed this around a little bit. This is new. Cardinal Connections is now on there. It does mean something. They need to pass Cardinal Connections. Okay? Electives are just going to write their electives in here. You're going to be utilizing this. Oh, mercy. This was from Mr. Love. This is a gift. Mr. Love loved those things, and I didn't know that they were on there. So, this is the 22 one. Cardinal Connections aren't on here. Still count. And that box is not down here. Same information. You're going to take a transcript. Sabina's going to print all the transcripts for us. It's going to be given into our English teachers' classrooms. You're going to get that when we come in as counselors, and we're going to go over the transcript, and we're going to put it onto the credit check form. Okay? That's what we're going to go over a little bit on the presentation in the classrooms. We're going to actually physically show kids how to do that. Any questions so far? Lots of whispering. Are we okay? We're good? Bored? Talked about last night? Okay. So, these are course codes. The course codes are the information that we need that says what categories they go in. So if you have a course code that is ENG, Miss Hackney, where does that go? ENG goes in what category? Language arts. Language arts and English, yes. If I have a course code of VUS, where would VUS go? CTE. So the 22 credit one is harder to read, but the 24 one, it has a beautiful little cheat sheet of what those course codes are, which are down here. So the 3 that you can utilize. They only get credit if they pass the class.
Ooh.
Ah. If they didn't pass their class, on their credit form or their registration form, it's going to say classes failed, and they're going to put that in there so they know exactly what class they failed, so they know what they need to make up. Okay? Washington State history is an expectation. If they've been in our school most of their lives in our district, they will have taken it at middle school at Keithley or at Ford. That's when you can see over here on the transcript on the far left, right-hand side when you look at it. Yes, sir.
On the check sheets, if they already did it in 7th or 8th grade, instead of like the S119 on there, or what should we put? Should we put S1?
You can put whatever you really want. So like, Jamie, do you put S1 or do you put 119? Like, how do you fill that out?
I do 1 or 2.
Okay.
So semester 1 and then the year. I used to do the month and the year, but who cares? It's the semester.
Right, and then what do you do, Hannah?
Same thing,
Okay,
1 or 2.
so it's preference, really. I want to let you know that this is their working document. We counselors have the final audited document that we use, and we meet with all the seniors and all the juniors and potentially all of our sophomores. Plus then we meet again with them in registration. So we're going over that multiple times with them. Your sheet is not like the die on the hill kind of sheet. Yours is the guideline. Counselors have the end all be all. That's where we're at, okay? Plus case managers, we work very closely with them to know what their expectations are with kids with IEPs. Good question, Joyner. Okay, so this is just another look. This far right-hand side where it says reading standard, writing standard, math, if it said not met, and they're gonna be a senior, they're gonna be in a bridge class. That's how they're gonna meet that. Or they can take the ACT, those are our discussions to have with them. You can have them too. We're taking the SAT on April 23rd for all the juniors. Something to note, April 23rd, all juniors are taking that. Hopefully they all pass. Right, any questions? Okay, math, I saw Bomber. On here, they're gonna correct me if I'm wrong on this. Okay, so kids know, math teachers will be discussing with them which classes they'll be going into. You as a connections person will be going over this with them, but we will be going over it with them in their classes as well. Their transcript will say whether they've met the math standard or not, and then what math class they're in. So if they're in Algebra 1-2, most freshmen take Algebra 1-2. They would take Geometry the next year, and then Algebra 3-4, and so on. Dual credit classes. Again, you are using this as a guideline. This is not the audited one that we will be doing with them. You got any soccer players in here? Football players, soccer players. Really? Are you kidding me? Washington State. Soccer. Who's played soccer? Come on.
I played soccer.
Okay. Whoa. Like Washington State is a huge soccer state. So there's so many touches to a ball before you make a goal. That's generally what your coach will talk about. We as counselors have so many contact with our students before they graduate from this school. We want to make sure that each year we're having at least 3 conversations a year about their graduation requirements, about classes that they're potentially failing or that they need to have. And so you guys, we need your help to be able to communicate this as well during conferences. Their registration form will be looked at. It will see at the bottom, it has classes that they failed. We want you to be able to talk about that and have an opportunity to discuss that. You should not have a family, if they're a senior, junior, sophomore, and they failed 5 classes, you should have talked to them as a teacher. We should have talked to them as a counselor. We're happy to say we have 8 kids that are going to Gates as of the end of this month not because we want them to go there, but because it's an opportunity for them to be able to graduate on time. We want all the kids to be able to graduate here, but if they're as a freshman and sophomore, we already know who those kids are, and we're working with them and having lots of conversations. So you guys also feel comfortable having those conversations. Ask us any questions if you have about that. Dual credit classes. So classes that can be, some kids are gonna talk about Running Start. Wednesday night of this week from, help me out, 6 to 7, 5 to 6, 5 to 6, we are having a sophomore and junior night where 4 stakeholders will be there. There will be Pierce College, TCC, Clover Park, and the Skills Center will be there talking to kids about dual credit options for in high school. And it's also to talk to them about what it means for graduation and what the rigor is that they're going to be expecting as they go through the next couple years. So that's a good place. If they have questions about that, invite them to that. We stuck them on all the junior and sophomore doors. Did you see that on your door? We didn't ask permission, sorry. I felt it was important, thought you'd be okay with that. So making sure that we have the CTE classes, oftentimes are dual credit classes. The course catalog is out. We will have a class set that we will bring with us to your classroom. And then each Cardinal Connection person will have 5 booklets in their class to keep. The CCC will also have books up there to look at. Since we spread out the whole registration process, so next week we're in classes, we have a week off for the Cardinal Connections to be able to work on it, then we have conferences, then we have a week off for kids to hopefully not change anything. We'll have collected all of those, but any kids who haven't finished, we'll get that. And then the first week of April, we're back in your classrooms. I lied, you're back in my classroom. The counselors are going to be in here in the CCC, in the corporate room. Okay, so wasn't that fun last year to find out all those kids that get to go into AP classes and didn't even know they were going to go into, right? That's sarcasm, everyone. That's a little bit of sarcasm. So we are wanting to make sure that kids understand that it's district policy. If you score a 4 on an AP test, you will be going into an AP class. We are asking that kids not take more than 2 unless you have permission from an administrator and a counselor. If they want to go into one, that's different. If they get a level 3 and they really want to have the rigor, or they want to go to a specific career path and they know that they need to get that practice, they can still have those conversations. We're not going to deny kids that opportunity. You do have, we pay for the exam at the end of the year. That's a bonus. Skills Center, we're in the morning only. The applications are open now. Please have students, if you have one that a kiddo is asking you about, or please get them into Lori, first come, first serve. So we send those over pretty quickly. One year they did not get sent over. It was not good for anyone, so we want to make sure that we're really respecting a time frame of getting those done. Transportation is offered to them. Have them come up as soon as possible. So again, we have the EL test and the math test, and then, is it, Struna, I'm kind of calling, is it the WELPA?
ELPA.
ELPA, but there's a W in front of it.
No, it's the old test. ELPA is now what we use. Well,
Okay.
that's the written one.
Okay, we need to correct that because it says WELPA. Hannah's correct, I'm just gonna let everyone know she was correct. But it said WELPA, so I just wanna make sure that that was in there. And you're testing in here.
Yes.
Okay. And for our EL kids, our EL paras and Ms. Struna worked really hard in getting those registration forms filled out, knowing what classes they could go into. For our case managers, they're working really hard with our IEP students to know what classes they need to be in. It's gonna kind of be hopefully pre-filled out for part of it, but they will look at them. I know that Ms. Watson last year sat and did every single kid's registration form while I was in there announcing it. So we really try to be exact with the classes that the kids need. Science is coming up for the class of 2021. Science is finally like, yes, finally, we're back on. This is what the registration form is gonna look like, except for there was one correction yesterday with Ms. Marzano, and it didn't get on here from my computer died this morning at 6:15, that's fine. And so, we're gonna add basic English back up in there. But this is what the registration form looks like. Notice how down here it has the classes that they need to credit retrieval. You're gonna go through here and we have the course code. You're just gonna check which one, what class they have, and then teacher signature. Questions? Yes.
Between sophomore language class and sophomore English.
Excellent question, Kota.
There's two teachers in the class.
On the back will be the, not the CTs, the electives and CTEs.
How do they know which one to pick?
Based on their teacher's recommendation, their scores.
Which one's which?
I'm gonna change that. That was per the feedback I got yesterday. I need to put on their COTOT.
Okay.
And basic English is on there, yes.
Do freshmen need teacher approval to request advanced sophomore English?
Generally, a teacher can put that on there. If they want it, they can have it, but generally, we want some signatures from teachers.
Okay.
Wow.
Why not their freshman teacher? What?
Any other questions? Kane,
Freshman teacher.
you good? You got any questions?
I'm curious.
Uh-oh, here we go.
So, and I don't know what it's showing you, so if you get a 4 on the test, you're gonna have to take an AP.
You get to.
You get to.
You get to.
Do you get to opt out of that?
You do get to opt out of that. There's a process that includes the parent, an administrator, and sometimes a counselor, but really it's above us. District, that has actually been on the records for a very long time, we learned, before this era of counselors and administration. Very long time. We were schooled. And so therefore, we're complying. I was just curious. I love it. I like curiosity. Anybody else? Okay, electives are on the back. There was a comment made when they looked at the form yesterday on the back that they would like to have maybe 4 bullets, because they're going to pick 4 electives. Instead of just circling it, so I'm going to put a box here that says what 4 electives they want. And you know what? So how it's set up is these 2 rooms, counselors sit here, this wall is almost closed, we sit here and look this way. Social studies and science teachers come in this door, kids who are working on their forms are over there. We're sitting here, we're looking at every single kid that comes in, we're looking at front and back. We're signing it. They come into this room, they enter it into the computer. They cannot change it. It has to be in pen, and they cannot change from what that goes on here to what goes onto the computer. So we can have the right data that's in there. Yes?
Just since I don't see it, there's always a question, they say do a headache in the fall. If the student speaks Spanish at home, don't have them sign up for Spanish 1 through 6. Have them go for Heritage Spanish, have them sign up for it, they'll succeed in the class despite their fears. There's always concerns that, oh, I don't speak it that well, I can't write it that well. Sign them up for Heritage Spanish,
Okay.
tailored for them.
Did you guys hear that okay? If they speak Spanish at home, sign them up for native. Yes.
So that's alphabetical instead of by department?
That came in the course catalog. I didn't make the course catalog. Yes.
So that's only, those are all your graduation requirements, that's just your.
These are the core classes.
That's physical education is a core class, so.
It is, but we put we did the same thing last year, but we know that not all kids need as many by the time, this is a sophomore class one, so they generally still need it as a sophomore. But we know that when they fill out their form, what they need on their credit check, and so they know that they need to put that on there from here. Brittany, are there any questions? How's it look? Math?
So basically what we would anticipate is that every kid would walk around with this and their current teacher in this core subject will sign off their next spot. And then for the rest of us in connections, we just help them make sure they have the 4 other core classes maybe.
You make sure that their credit check, is correct. So not everybody's gonna end up going to that English class, they're gonna miss that, and they're probably gonna be picked up in their credentials class.
Can I have a
Better pool.
I was wondering how dual credit stuff works.
So you still have to have the same number of credits, the 24, but it can fill 2 boxes.
No, that's a 2-for-1, not a 2-for-1.
Are you asking about college
Dual
credit in
credit
high
is
school?
different. Not the college credit one, the other.
The
other
2 for 1.
Yeah, 2-for-1's
2 for 1, so it just fills 2 boxes, but they're overall credits?
Yeah, it's still 1 credit, it just checks off 2 graduation requirements.
Okay.
Yes.
So that, yeah.
I'll be honest, a little confusing. If you flip to the back page, is there any way to sort those by content area?
That's what she was asking.
Okay, and then another one, so if you flip back to the front page, sorry, I should have done that first.
All right.
Just looking at like a science selection, I know there's a lot of elective sciences too, but I don't know.
So
Like,
there's a huge debate, we have lots of discussion about it, there's only so much space on one side of a sheet of paper is part of it. So we didn't mean to offend any one curriculum, but we knew that it didn't feel very good to not have specific things on here, but we can't fit everything on it without overwhelming the front side. And so that's what we discussed yesterday is, again, I didn't have time to correct all of this, but putting the bullets down here, PE here. That we know that the science, we know that a kiddo doesn't have to take one of these and then would also not have to take the health, because health is not on the front side, right? That's a requirement as well. The freshman form is not on here. Freshman forms are different.
yeah, I'm just saying though, but if you don't put all of them, then should it be like PE where you put them all on the back? Does that make sense? Because then it makes them feel like these are the only ones you can choose from, and then these are extra, you can double up. I'm just thinking from like a kid's point of view.
Okay. So we're going to be in the Corrigan room for registration? Or no? You guys are going to be here for the electives fair, right?
Set of things.
And then we're going to be here in the Corrigan room for registration on the computer. Okay. We will make the corrections, I'll go ahead and make the corrections on the forms that still need to be done. And then if PE department wants to stop by, if you want to stop by, I won't talk more about it. Okay? Any more questions?